Hi my crafty friends, welcome back to my So Crafty Life. This is Michelle, and today I wanted to show you how you can turn your scraps like this into this: a trivet, a hot pad, and a pot holder. So join me for some sewing fun today. So I'm just going to start off by taking all these scraps and sew them together in a 1/4 inch with a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to cut them, and I'm going to cut them into a 7-inch square for my pot holder. So you can take these and you can cut them, however long or short that you want them, range them into whatever size, and make a bigger hot pad if you need to. And then here I'm just using 100% cotton batting and a piece of one layer of the Insul Brite, and the Insul Brite will help to give you an extra layer of insulation when you're grabbing onto any pot or anything. And then this is the back that I'm going to use for my hot pad. So I'll set this aside for now. I'm going to take all this to the machine and sew it together. Then I'll cut it, place all the layers together, and quilt it. And these are the strips that I'll use for the binding. I'm going to round the corners of my pot holder, so I'll use the bias binding that I cut at about 2 inches wide to bind this. So I just wanted to show you here on this one, and I'll have the directions all in the description below with the measurements that I used. But I used only like 4 charm squares for this. I cut them into 4, each one of the charm squares into 2.5-inch squares, except for one. I left one whole 5-inch square that we're going to use in the middle, and I sewed the 2.5-inch squares together to make the top row and the bottom row, just using 4 of each. That's here. And then I sewed 2 of them together and sewed them to the 5-inch square in the middle, and then sewed all of it together to make this sort of like a 16 patch. It's just that the middle has the 5-inch square in it. So then I measured it. It comes out to about 8.5 inches square, and then I'm going to layer it together with the batting and the backing. And you want your backing and your batting to be about the same size, and I cut them about an inch or so long, larger all the way around, like so. And I'll have to cut this piece of batting off right here. And then I'll go ahead and layer it like 2 layers of the batting. And if you want to put some Insul Brite, you can put a layer of Insul Brite in the middle. And then I'll quilt it and sew it all together and bind it, and then I'll show you how I do all that. Okay, so here I'm just going to stitch in the ditch quilt. So I'm going to go down row by row in between the seams, and I'm going to go slow because I'm using a regular foot instead of a walking foot. I highly recommend a walking foot, especially if you've got really thick layers that you got to go through. But I've misplaced mine at the moment, so I'm just using a regular foot. But I'm also using a 3.5-inch stitch to quilt this, because I do like the bigger stitch look. I think it looks, more homemade. And so I'll just turn it around and go down row by row. And then when I get to the middle, I'm going to just sew diagonally across corner to corner of the 5-inch square. Okay, so now I'm going to sew the binding to the back of the hot pad. And I'm just going to start about halfway down from the top here. And I'm sewing a 1/4 inch seam. And I will show you how I connect the ends together once I get to the end. Okay, so here is I'm going to fold up the top piece so that there will be a little hem, and then I take the bottom piece and I overlap the top by just about 1 inch, and then I'm going to go and sew the 1/4 inch seam, making sure I backspace, and just sew that side right there until it's completely finished. Here I'm just making sure that I'm laying it flat and that it's overlapping by just about 1 inch. You don't want it to overlap too much so there's no bulk when you turn it over and flip it to the other side. So I'm just going to sew that down, making sure that I get it all even and flat. And then when I get to the end where it's already sewn, I'm just going to back up a couple of stitches, make sure it's secure. And then check to make sure that it's, you can see where the gap is, but when you turn it over and stitch it to the other side, it'll close it up. Okay, so I'm just going to fold it over to the front and fold it all the way around. And now I'll just fold that down about 1/2 inch and then fold it back over to the top like so. Just making sure that it's all even and that it covers any seams that I might have sewed over that. And I'll clip it into place. And it's going to go around and do the same thing all the way around. And then I'll show you how I do the corners after I clip this. And then with the corner, you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to fold it down on that one side and then on the other, and then fold it to where you have like that miter corner. You might have to play with it a little bit. And then you'll just go and clip it into place. And you can use pins instead of clips if you prefer. And I'll just sew it all the way around. And when you get to the part right here where you had your two ends that you put together, you just do the same thing. You're just folding it over, and you're going to have a little seam there in the middle, which might leave a little bit of a gap, but you can take a needle and thread and sew that together. Okay, so these are the sizes I've made. This one is the 10 by 12 inch finished size. It's a great size for sheet pans or casserole dishes. And this one is the Trivet or hot pad, and then the Potholder. And the Potholder, you can put a hanging loop there on the corner if you want. All you have to do is just set it in the binding. I will add all the sizes and materials you need for these in the description below, and let me know what you think, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and come back for more great tutorials. See you soon.